Hi, my name's Cecil Pearson Jr. And for you to understand the things that I'm about to tell you, I'm going to have to take you back a little ways, but I promise not to keep you there too long. When I was 12 years old, my dad carried me to the Fort Stewart Hospital because I was sick and was bruising real bad. And they told my dad that I had leukemia and that I was going to die. And they gave him some medicine to help me not hurt. And, well, I kind of half figured, they would overdose me and put me out of it. Well, they got back home, and it's about 2:30 in the morning. My dad asked me, he said, "Before I give you this medicine, boys, is there anything you want?" I said, "Yeah, I'd like Grandma Ruth to come down here and pray for me, if you don't mind." And my mama put up a little fuss because it was 2:30 in the morning. But Daddy said, "Hush, woman, call her." Well, she called Grandma, and Grandma come down, and she laid hands on me, and she started praying. I had a real high fever. And she started speaking in tongues, and I went to sleep. Well, before she got done praying, according to my mom and dad, my fever broke. And the next morning, Daddy come back there, and he woke me up, and he says, "Hey, boy, how you feeling this morning?" I says, "Dad, I feel fine. I'm just real thirsty." He says, "I'll get you a glass of tea." And he went and got me a glass of tea, and I drank it. And I had been real sick, so I was throwing everything I drunk and eat up. And I said, "Dad, I'm still thirsty. I want some more tea." And he went and got me another glass of tea, and he gave it to me, and I drank it. And he goes, "Why don't you get up and get dressed? We're going to go down to Fort Stewart Hospital, and I'm going to have them test you again." So we went down there to Fort Stewart, and they checked me, and they couldn't find a single cell of leukemia anywhere in my body. And the doctors told my dad, and I don't know what makes doctors think it, but they do believe that that little curtain that they pull around your bed is soundproof. It's not. You can hear the bad news and you can hear the good news right through that curtain, docs. We can hear you. Little humor for that. But it's not a magic curtain, I promise. And I heard the doctor tell my daddy, he says, "Well, we must have made a mistake, sir, because there's no sign of leukemia anywhere." He goes, "No, you didn't make a mistake. He had it. But God cured him of it last night." And the doctor says, "Well, I don't believe in God." And the doctor said, "You didn't need to. He did." And he carried me home. Well, actually, we didn't go home. I don't want to tell you anything that was wrong. We went straight to the bowling alley where my daddy bought me as many hamburgers as I could eat, and we bowled a whole day. He carried me back to the house, and I started going to church right regular. And excuse me, my nose was running. He carried me. I started going back to church, and before I realized what was happening, I started playing piano for a couple of girls at the church, and we traveled all over southeast Georgia playing gospel sings. And I believed in God, and I knew that He had worked a miracle for me, and I believed in the devil. I did. I won't lie about it. I believed in it, but I never did really buy into all the hocus pocus of you got to pray and you got to ask for forgiveness and stuff like this. I just never bought into it. Even though I sat up there and I played music for girls to sing about it, and I seen people worshiping God and getting saved left, right, and center, I just never bought into it. Well, May the 1st, 1985, I woke up and my pillow was covered in blood. My right ear was bleeding. Now, I've been sick with my ears for off and on my whole life. I'm deaf as a post in it now. But Dad gathered me up and he carried me back down to the Fort Stewart Hospital. They ran some tests and said, "Oh no, we can't take care of this here. He's got to go see a hospital. He got to go to a hospital a little further south." Now, I'm not giving names because I don't want the doctors aggravated. Okay? They're old now, like me. Well, long story short, May the 2nd, 1985, about 8:15 in the morning, I went in for emergency surgery. I had a huge tumor in my middle inner ear on the right side. They did something called a right radical mastoidectomy with a tympanograph. Now, for you folks that don't know what that means, is they went in and they cut the tumor out, and then they grafted me a new eardrum. Well, the tumor, when they got in there, had eaten through the skull cavity, or the skull, and into the skull cavity, and had gotten on a little bit of the brain in there. So they called in a neurosurgeon to come in and take care of that. Brain surgeon, do a little brain surgery on me. I'm still a pretty smart feller. Well, sometime during that surgery, my heart stopped, and I was clinically dead for 38 minutes. And that's what this is about. I told you I never bought into the hocus pocus, so you'll know to my surprise when a staircase appeared to my right of where I was laying. And there was angels on that staircase on both sides, and a figure came down the center of it. And that figure was Jesus. He looked a little bit like a picture that we had in our church, but his hair wasn't long. It was very short and curly. And his beard was very well trimmed and just nice looking man he was. And I knew it was Jesus because I could see the scars in his hands when he took me by my hand and lifted me up out of my body. And we started walking up these stairs, and it seemed like every step we took, the faster we went. And before I realized that we were moving faster than anything I'd ever seen. And I was flying over this meadow, this green meadow, and I could smell honey and fresh bread, so strong. And I was taken and stood in front of this big gold door. Now the door was so wide that I could look to either side and I could not see the sides of it. Standing on the floor or the ground or whatever it was I was standing on, it was gold, I can tell you that. But it was transparent. So pure it was transparent that when I looked up, I could not see the top of the door. From standing on the ground looking straight up, I could not see the top of this door. But there was a handle on it. And I grabbed this handle and I tried to pull it and open it. And I couldn't open it. It was too heavy. I couldn't move it. Well, all of a sudden, this door just flew open by itself. And this intense light poured out of it. The light was so bright that when I covered my face and I buried my face against what my feet were standing on and tried to just shield myself from this light and this pain that the light brought, that I could still see the light. It was like I could see the bones in my hands kind of light. Well, I heard these words, "Depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I have never known you." And in an instant, an angel on my left and an angel on my right jerked me up out of there, and the peace that I was feeling while I was there was just destroyed. And they carried me across this dark chasm and just dropped me. And I fell for what seemed like an extremely long time. And then I hit. And when I hit, there was a searing pain in my body. It was like every bone in my body broke, but not a single one did. It was dark, but you could see. The stench was so bad it smelled like rotten flesh. That buzzards that eat on the side of the road, some of them it would smell as if the buzzard wouldn't even eat it. And the heat and the fire was so hot that it was transparent. It was invisible. You couldn't see the fire. But the fire was so hot that you could feel the skin bubbling up and running off of you, and your flesh just melting and hanging off your bones. But when you looked down, there wasn't nothing wrong with it. So it could keep burning, and you could keep feeling that sensation all the time. And there was no relief from it. And I wasn't standing on the floor. It was people, other people. And these people were clawing at my legs and biting at my feet and my legs, trying to pull themselves out from under the people that was on top of them. And the whole time, people are being dropped in from above. It's like nobody's making it into heaven. I know that there were some folks getting in, but not nearly as many as you'd think. Because there was a lot of them going into hell. And then all of a sudden, every single time that God had presented himself to me in church,